In the 1960s, the CIA stole one of the most dangerous psychological techniques in history, word for word, without crediting the author, and used it to reprogram the human mind. Today, that technique is being applied to you, not in secret basements, but right in your news feed. In the 1950s and 1960s, American intelligence agencies actively studied methods of soft control over the human mind. The goal wasn't just to extract the truth during interrogations. The goal was to erase old thinking and install new patterns. One such technique was devised by the founder of Scientology, Ron Hubbard. He called it the Alice in Wonderland technique. The name was deliberate. Hubbard used passages from Lewis Carroll's book where logic and absurdity intertwine, leaving the mind disoriented. When a person is immersed in this atmosphere of absurdity, their internal compass falters, and at that moment, a new idea can be introduced. It is perceived as a stable point in the chaos. The essence is to throw a person into a state of cognitive chaos. Contradictory phrases, illogical constructions, emotional swings. When the mind is confused, it clings to any clear thought. And that is exactly the thought the operator implants. In 1961, the intelligence services released the Q-Bar Counterintelligence Interrogation Manual, a secret guide to counterintelligence interrogations, in which Hubbard's methods were reproduced almost word for word. No references, no mention of the author. The technique simply moved from the founder's works into an official government document. It was renamed a psychological softening tool, a method to blur the internal logic of the subject and replace it with a scenario the operator desired. Back then, it was a weapon for interrogation. Today, it is social media algorithms and marketing funnels working around the clock. Hubbard designed the Alice in Wonderland technique as a psychological experiment, a stream of absurd phrases, contradictory images, and emotional jolts disorients the mind. The mind stops relying on familiar connections and, like a body falling through empty space, grabs onto any stable thought that suddenly feels safe. In 1961, the CIA published a secret manual in which these techniques were laid out almost verbatim. But here, they no longer looked like a whimsical game. They became a precise tool of psychological attack. The goal is simple, not to extract the truth, but to rewrite internal reality, replacing old references with new, externally imposed ones. At this moment, the victim's critical filter breaks down. Everything said immediately after the state of confusion penetrates deeply, unchecked, unresisted, straight into what the person perceives as their own opinion. How does this moment of capture work? Imagine the brain. It's not a computer, but a balance walker. It maintains equilibrium as long as the surface beneath is stable. But once the rope is swayed, all attention goes to staying upright. In that instant, any suggestion, any thought thrown like a helping hand, is perceived as salvation, even if that hand leads into a trap. Hubbard, and later the CIA, understood that in a state of disorientation, a person searches for support. And the first support they accept becomes whatever you provide. This is the moment of capture. A window of just a few seconds, when the critical filter is off. Instead of giving the person time to recover, the manipulator introduces a logical or obvious thought, and it embeds itself not as an external command, but as the victim's own conviction. From that moment, everything else said in the same vein is easier to accept, seen as a continuation of the victim's own position. This is not hypnosis in the usual sense. It is work with physiology and the brain's automatic responses. Fast, invisible, and therefore especially dangerous. Chase Hughes, expert in behavioral sciences, author, and former U.S. Navy commander. Over years of service, he specialized in analyzing human behavior, persuasion techniques, and interrogation methods, working in environments where the cost of error could be fatal. His name is known in intelligence and law enforcement circles around the world. He developed advanced influence systems, body language reading, and psychological profiling, applied both in intelligence and corporate settings. Hughes is the author of the Behavior Elements Table, a unique reference that catalogs over 100 human behavioral markers, from microgestures to tonal patterns, showing how to tell when someone is telling the truth and when they are not. This tool is built on more than 100 peer-reviewed studies and decades of field experience. He calls things by their real names. Influence technologies, originally devised for war and intelligence, long ago moved beyond military structures and now operate in marketing, media, and politics. According to him, the only defense is to understand how they work. Today, the same techniques are no longer hidden behind the doors of intelligence agencies. They live in your pocket, in social media algorithms, and in the short video feeds. The difference is only in scale. Instead of a single interrogator, you now face thousands of operators, bloggers, marketers, political campaigns. The mechanism is the same. First, chaos is introduced. Abrupt topic changes, emotional swings, contradictory statements. The brain loses its footing and seeks something stable. At that moment, a solution, product, course, political slogan, or worldview is inserted. In an interrogation, this was a pair of phrases following an absurd question. On TikTok, it's a stream of distressing news, motivational quotes, ads, all in under 30 seconds. The main goal is not just to sell or persuade. The goal is to reprogram identity, so you no longer question whether it's true, but think it is part of who you are now. This is when manipulation becomes self-sustaining. You start defending what was imposed as your own. Methods, once born in closed intelligence rooms, no longer belong solely to the military. Today, they are integrated into social networks, advertising, political campaigns, and even motivational training. The Alice in Wonderland technique has gained a new scale in the digital age. Where breaking a mind used to require time, isolation, and sequential interrogation, algorithms now do it automatically. They select streams of contradictory, emotionally charged messages, alternating fear and hope, irritation and delight, until your internal perception script fails. Where once an officer in uniform would say, "You have no choice, you must continue." Today, a charismatic blogger with millions of followers looks at you and confidently says, "You just don't realize it yet, but this course will change your life." The difference is only in the setting. The principle remains the same. Induce cognitive overload, provide a logical, simple answer, and reinforce a new identity through the sense of belonging to a group. This is why Chase Hughes says that the modern information environment is not just content. It is a pervasive psychological experiment, and you're not a spectator but a subject. The sooner you understand that your news feed is the same interrogation room, only with bright visuals, the greater your chances of stopping yourself from playing by someone else's script. If previously a manipulator had to guess blindly, today algorithms know more about you than your closest friend. They track how long your gaze lingers on a video, the exact second you hit pause, which emotions are triggered by certain colors, faces, and words. Every scroll is a response in an invisible test, and based on it, the next frame of interrogation is selected. The Alice in Wonderland technique in this format becomes a continuous process. You're kept in a state of mild disorientation, constantly, never allowed to return to a stable inner picture of the world. Chase Hughes calls this emotional cycling. Rapid shifts of topics and moods, from humor to horror, success to failure, rock the nervous system and make you increasingly pliable. When your attention tires from the swings, a logical answer is already waiting. It may be a product, a political stance, or a ready-made worldview, into which you simply need to fit. The difference between a street hypnotist and a modern algorithm is that the former works with one person at a time, while the latter works with billions simultaneously, in real time, taking into account your weaknesses revealed through your digital footprint. The first thing to understand is that you're already inside. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself too smart or immune to suggestion. These methods don't work on belief, but on the wiring of your nervous system. To break free, you cannot just turn off your phone, although a pause is always helpful. The key is to regain the ability to notice the moment in the stakes of the game. This is the instant between confusion and your consent. What helps? Slowing down. Any decision you are pushed toward in a state of emotional swinging should be postponed. Return to your body. Feel your feet, your breath, your muscles. This anchors you in a reality where no algorithm exists. Check the source. Ask yourself, do I think this because I truly believe it, or because I'm tired of the chaos and crave stability? Conscious dietary windows, periods without news, social media, or streaming content. And the main principle Chase Hughes emphasizes. You cannot beat the algorithm with knowledge alone, but you can stop playing by its script. The world around you will not become less chaotic, but you can stop grasping at the first logical hook thrown your way. At that moment, the script will no longer be written for you by someone else.